Hi everyone. Humans are social animals, and as we know, that communication in many ways is what separates us from the other species, and that's the superpower that we all have. Perhaps it may come as a surprise to you that in 2019, digital conversations surpassed person-to-person communications and conversations for the first time, and that was before COVID. Of course, we know, I'm sure through this remote period over the last 6, 7, 8 weeks, depending on where you are in the world, the number of emails, texts, WhatsApps, messages has only increased. And of course, without face-to-face communication, so too has the digital communication increased exponentially. Of course, we know that 96% of Americans have a mobile phone, and 97% of those send a text message every day, and 99% of the text messages sent are read. In fact, there are 26 billion text messages sent a day in the US, and I'm sure that number is much higher post this environment we're all living through. And it just goes to show the differences in how communication have changed. The average response time for a text message is about 90 seconds, which compares to about 90 minutes for an email. So texting is clearly the preferred method for the majority of people. Interesting to note, the average millennial in the US sends on average 128 text messages per day. Consider that millennials represent about 100 million people, or a third of the population in the US. You know, these are structural trends that were there before the COVID crisis. And of course, we've seen the millennialization of consumer behaviors, no less texting, for all other demographics. So these trends are likely to continue and become even more ubiquitous over time. And it will be very interesting to see how humans in the world, when we get back to a new normal, will embrace interpersonal relationships, interpersonal communications, person-to-person communications, and that is really how society has functioned for thousands of years. And if anyone has any thoughts on the topic, feel free to send me a text message. So that's another episode of Be the Change in 60 Seconds. Where will I see you next week?